Good evening traders, it's Samurai Trader here. I'm just in a short. It's basically a pivot bounce come T2 for 15 ticks. I'm trading the NQ55 tick. Normally during normal market hours I trade the 133, but in the aftermarket I'll trade after hours. I'll trade the 55 to the 89. It just depends on volume. So as an example, all day the market's been open for about 11 or 12 hours, and it's only turned over 14,000 contracts, so not great volume. So we can see here we've got a bit of a bounce. I'm front running the lower pivot. We can see over here that we come down and bounced off the pivot earlier, so this is a logical place for support. So we'll see if we come down and we hit this pivot. My stop it's a nice tight stop actually. It's a couple of ticks above the high over here, and basically I got in fairly early, but my price was under the 34, and you can see here the 34 is rolled over. Now just while we're waiting for some things to happen there, actually, is it going to move? I don't want to move away at the moment just in case it delivers. We never know when it's going to deliver. Let me just show you this. This is the thing in drawing channels, and let me just move over here, and you'll see me do this regularly. Find 2 points of support, extend your trend line right, and then I'll do a parallel line, draw that out there, and just look at that. It's just amazing. It certainly price action went out of it slightly, but come back within, and it's a good idea just to give you a general idea when you have a change in trend. Now of course we had a lovely pivot bounce down here. However, for those that like their trend lines, it's a great technique to use, and it just is a further confirmation that you are getting a change in trend. Now just I'm just looking at my trading dome here, it's still hovering around. So we can see here we had a beautiful T89. I want to say beautiful, it was just classic Medova rules up here. Then we had a T7, we had here a T2, a perfect T2. Then we had a T10. Now remember, your T10s are ideal when you have a lower high, which is what we had here, and our long term was falling, and it was straight off some really good divergence. And here we had another perfect T2. To make it even better, it's gone up, hit the pivot, rolled over, and it's fallen. Then we've had a pivot bounce, we've come up, we've had a T2, this point come up, nice little double top, a lot of consolidation here, and now I'm in this little pivot bounce, this little market rollover. So we can see here we've rolled over, come up, hit the pivot, and we'll see what happens. So this will be a good start to my trading day tomorrow. I'm getting a little bounce up here. Now what will probably happen, will come up here and roll over again and continue down. Generally you find you trade or travel from pivot to pivot, particularly in an oscillating market, which is what we have right now. So I'll just put this on hold and let's see what happens. Okay, I've just had a candle close in the direction of my trade. It should deliver. No certainties in trading, of course. However, my stop is in a good position. It's nice and tight, good risk reward. It's only a $300 risk on 10 contracts, so better than a 2-to-1. Oh, it's going to bounce back up. This may very well, traders, go and turn into another T2. So we can see here we're now oversold. Our stochastic, our short term, may go up, and then we'll wait for another rollover, and I may even enter and put another trade on in the direction of our trend here. However, I do want to exit at this pivot. Now it is 10:33 p.m. here, so the main market, New York, opens in an hour. So usually we see a spike in activity and in volume at this stage. So traders, what you want to be waiting for now, we can see here we've got a bounce. It actually is a small T89 trade. However, we won't be taking that trade. We're already in a short, and I'd be looking for a T2 trade for this to roll over and go to the short side, another short trade. I'll just put you back on hold. Just while we're waiting for this trade to move down, I have to have some self-promotion here. If you haven't already become a student, please drop me an email and I'll send you out some information about my fast track day trading program. So traders, you can see it's actually bouncing up against me here. I'm not worried about this trade at all, because look at my platinum. I've got no divergence. Yes, a little bit of a T89 set up here, however no divergence on the platinum. So it's waiting for a bounce off a pivot here to the downside again. Mind you, no one likes to see price go against you, particularly when you're almost at your target. It is way past my bedtime. I've got to get up at 3 a.m. for my NQ trading on my 133 tick, and I'm going to be doing some trading on sale on the black gold tomorrow. And just in case you're wondering, my stop is 2 ticks above this little swing high. So traditionally on the NQ I have a stop 2 ticks above or below the closest swing high or swing low. Now for my students, of course, normally you would enter this trade on this candle here. You'd wait for your T1 to plot for a bounce and a rollover. However, just understand the patterns. I've got in earlier. Normally you would have been in over here. So where are we here?
Order filled.
Okay, so we're in the market. Let me adjust my stop. Okay, 2 ticks above this little swing high, and I am going to tighten my profit target because I'm well under that pivot. So let me bring that up. I'm actually going to let it ride and hope it punches through a little. There we go. So I entered this trade here on a perfect, if anything I should have got in. Let's have a look here. This is why I don't like doing recordings and talking when I'm trading. I should have been in on the close of this candle here, and I got in here. Now if you are being conservative and waiting for your zero lag, you still do not have an entry. If you're just relying purely on your rollover was there, and you can see here I'm in late. Okay, we've just had a T1 signal form with the paint bar. That was caused by a price ticked below the low of our second candle. Now what I am going to do, because of the time, I'm going to bring my target up a little. There we go. Alright, this is still a $1,200 gain, or $120 per contract for the evening just on these two. So nice tight stop here, and a nice tight stop here, and a perfect T2. Now one thing I want to say to it, would not be unreasonable to have your stop above this pivot here. Okay, because price quite often will go up and bounce off that pivot. So if you were to have your stop up above here, there'd be nothing wrong with that either. You can probably tell by my raspy voice I've been training all day, so I'm losing my voice. So hopefully this doesn't sound too bad on the recording. Slowly ticking down. Come on, deliver. So if you had waited for your T1 or your zero leg, you would have been in at that spot I got into, or thereabouts anyway. Very slowly moving. Traders, this is the best business you can be in. You know, my number one goal, traders, is to make money, but secondly it's to have a bit of fun on the way, and I do love trading. And that's the great thing about the setups that I use, is they're very high probability setups. So we know that our win-loss ratio, our win ratio is very, very high. It's just a numbers game. I'm patiently waiting. It may bounce up and I expect it to roll over. A few things here. Our 89 has rolled over, our 34, our channel, and of course we've got a nice T2, and we have been bouncing around in the pivots. Now remembering, when you get in a trade late, not only do you have to stay in the trade longer to hit your profit target, but then of course you end up with a much larger stop. So it looks like we're finally getting some movement. This is would be $1,200 on the basis that, or $1,200, that both of these trades are filled. Remembering, when you're day trading, you never risk any more than 2% in total. So in other words, here you would only be able to, if you're trading correctly, 1% of your account on each trade until at least one of them is filled. Very, very important, as I say, get rich slowly. It's always hard when I'm doing these recordings. What am I going to talk about while we're waiting? Here we are, we're getting closer. We're only a couple of ticks away from the first contract being filled, the first lot of contracts, and another tick below that is my second lot. Now I mentioned earlier I like to front run, that is when you're trading pivot to pivot I like to just be just above support. Usually we'll come down at least touch support, at least touch the pivot. Now of course what can happen here, because we're forming a double bottom right here, price could bounce up. Our platinum is on the rise. However, the Euro Stoxx 50 is still falling, so I'm fairly confident that this trade will deliver. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to pull my stop down on my top contract so I can't lose money on that particular trade. So normally speaking, if say I'm after here in this case 15 ticks, once you're up 13-14 ticks you really want to go to break even, but you don't want to bring your stop in too far or too close, because this sort of thing can happen. So you've come down, that was good for 13 ticks if I remember correctly, then it bounced back up again, and so if you pulled it down too tight, you would have been stopped out of that trade, even though it break even, but missed out on a good potential profit. I think we're come on, so close. 2 ticks to go to fill the first trade I'm in, and 3 to complete the second. I'm hesitant in putting this back on hold because I don't want you to lose the excitement. Here we go. There we go. Come on. It's taken some of my contracts out. I've still got a few more to go. So this is the thing, traders, quite often you'll come down and you'll touch your target, but doesn't always mean that you've been filled.
Order filled.
Here we go. Now I'm still very, very close. Here, one more tick for my second trade. Here we go. I've touched it. There we go. Nearly there. Come on. Just a couple more contracts, 3 more to go. Now what I am going to do, I'm going to come down to break even +1. I'm not prepared to give her anything back here now. I've still got, what have I got there? 3 contracts still to be filled. Now this is what I mean, we're right at a pivot, so we may very well, we could get a bounce here.
Order filled.
There we go. So traders, you just saw me take a pivot bounce and a T2. One could even say it's almost a T10 because of a falling long-term stochastic. You just saw me take another T2. Here both of them are in the direction of the trend. I made a bit of a mistake here because I was talking, not concentrating, where I should have been in on the close of this candle. For my students that are waiting for the more conservative rollover of a zero leg, you would have been in here on this candle here, and you would have been in on this candle here. Either way, both of these trades would have been very profitable for you. So traders, you've just seen me trade a couple of two different types of trades that I teach in my course, which is over 8 hours of online video instruction. So this is were 2 live trades taken on the 21st of the 7th 2015, trading the NQ, the Nasdaq 55 tick. And of course, these setups strategies work on all time frames and all markets. Until next time, good trading.